I have always been the guardian, the one who watches while the world moves blindly. Every step my brother takes, every smile he gives, I measure against a lifetime of caution, against the shadows my family has buried. Our home looks ordinary, but it holds secrets no one outside would believe, illegal dealings, threats that linger like ghosts, enemies who wait silently for a mistake. I carry it all alone because protecting him has always been my purpose. I refuse to let anyone else bear this burden, and I refuse to fail. He is younger than me by just a few years, but he walks through life with a trust and innocence I envy. He believes in people, in love, in kindness, without suspicion. I sometimes wish I could let myself feel that way. But I cannot. I see the world differently, I see the danger that waits in smiles and handshakes. I monitor his calls, his meetings, the strangers who linger too long near him. I smile when he laughs, laugh when he jokes, but my eyes never leave the signs of threat. It was one ordinary afternoon when I first noticed her. She appeared in the square as if she belonged there, radiating charm that could disarm anyone. My brother introduced her casually. I should have spoken immediately, warned him. But something made me hesitate. I watched, noting the way her eyes lingered on objects she shouldn't have noticed, the careful way she spoke, her pauses that hinted at calculation. And yet, my brother's voice was bright with admiration. He was enchanted, and for a moment, I envied his innocence. She became a constant presence, seamlessly threading herself into our lives. My brother's smiles grew wider, his voice lighter. I tried to reconcile his happiness with the gnawing unease in my chest. I followed small clues, inconsistencies in her stories, fleeting moments where her charm slipped into something colder, something rehearsed. Each day, the weight of suspicion grew, but confronting him risked more than embarrassment, it risked our bond, the one thing I had always protected. Nights became my only refuge. When the world slept, I could think, examine, connect the dots without distraction. I pored over old records, photographs, whispers of conversations left behind. I traced patterns, pieced together hints of deals, warnings that had once been cryptic but now made sense. Danger was patient, but it was present. And now, it had a new face, one that smiled at my brother, one that reached him in ways I could not. He spoke of her with a joy I had never heard, his voice warm, certain. She asked questions about our family, careful and casual, and he answered freely, not seeing the cracks she tested, the vulnerabilities he exposed. My pulse raced with every detail I overheard. One misstep, one careless word, and everything could unravel. I wanted to confront him, to pull him away from her, but I also knew that without proof, I would only drive him closer to her side. I began investigating quietly, subtle, almost invisible. I observed her every move, tracked the connections she tried to hide, pieced together what she wanted. I discovered small lies, carefully placed, that painted her motives in a shadow I could not ignore. She was clever, patient, methodical. And the truth hit me harder than I expected, she was dangerous, and she had chosen him. I tried to warn myself not to let fear control me, but it was impossible. I had trained for this, lived for this, and yet nothing had prepared me for betrayal coming dressed in love. I watched her smile at him, laughed with him, touched his arm casually, and felt a cold knot form in my chest. My brother trusted her completely. And I could see, with terrifying clarity, that she would use that trust to destroy everything I had fought to protect. I remembered the nights of my childhood, the whispers of our father, the careful instructions of my mother. Always protect the family, they had said, even when it hurts you. I had lived by those words, sacrificed sleep, happiness, every ounce of normal life. And now, that lesson faced its ultimate test. If I acted too soon, I risked losing him to her charm. If I waited, I risked losing him forever. I tried to gather allies, but trust was scarce. Old family friends, cautious and secretive, avoided involvement. I could rely only on myself. I traced her movements, her messages, small transactions she tried to hide. Each discovery was a puzzle piece, each piece confirming my fears. She had an agenda, and it involved my brother. How much she knew about our family's past, I could not yet tell, but the signs were clear: betrayal was imminent. One evening, I confronted my own fear directly. I stood, invisible yet alert, outside the places they met. I listened to her speak, watched him respond, and felt the betrayal as if it had already happened. She spoke softly, carefully, words laced with manipulation, and he responded with openness, with affection. I wanted to scream, to pull him from her arms, but I stayed silent, calculating, measuring. I realized then that protection was not enough. I could guard him physically, watch over him endlessly, but I could not shield him from deceit that arrived clothed in love. That meant I had to be smarter, faster, more precise. I had to see every angle, predict every move, and anticipate every consequence. My brother, oblivious to danger, spoke of the future with a naive hope I could barely share. I envied him again, that unguarded belief in goodness, in people. I wanted to cry, to tell him everything, but I knew that revelation too soon would break him. And I could not bear to be the one to do that. I had always believed that loyalty would be enough, that my vigilance could protect him. Now I understood the truth: loyalty alone could not save him. Deception had entered our lives, quiet and careful, and I was the only one who could see it. I would not fail. I could not fail. I had prepared my entire life for moments like this, though I had never imagined the betrayal would come from someone who smiled at him, whispered kindness, and held his trust so easily. Every night, I sit awake, replaying conversations, analyzing gestures, hunting for proof. I know she is clever, but I am relentless. My love for him fuels every action, every thought, every plan I quietly craft. If she intends to harm him, I will stop her, no matter the cost. I will protect him from everyone, from everything, even from the love he cannot yet see is dangerous. And still, I cannot escape the fear that this time, my vigilance may not be enough. That the past we have tried to bury might rise again, stronger than ever, dragging him into the darkness I cannot prevent. I have kept him safe for years, and yet now, I feel the first tremor of helplessness. I know I must act, but patience and precision are my weapons. Every choice, every move, will determine whether he survives this, whether I fail entirely, or whether the love I have sacrificed so many times will save us both. I have no choice but to watch, to wait, to plan. Because in the end, love and sacrifice are only meaningful if they succeed, and failure is not an option. Not now. Not ever. Every day, I watched him fall deeper into her spell, and it felt like a slow-motion disaster I couldn't stop. He laughed at her jokes, confided in her, shared thoughts he had never shared with me, and each time, my chest tightened. I saw what he couldn't: the way she listened too carefully, the way her eyes scanned for weakness, the way her charm hid calculation. She was dangerous, and I had to make him see it before it was too late. I began documenting everything: conversations I overheard, gestures that didn't fit, small lies she told to manipulate, inconsistencies in her stories. The more I uncovered, the clearer it became: she had a plan, and it was tied to our family's darkest secrets. I couldn't let him know yet. If he suspected, he would defend her blindly. I had to act carefully, like a shadow moving silently in a room full of mirrors. I started tracing her movements, noting who she contacted, what she sought. She met people linked to our past, enemies I had long kept at bay. They were planning something, and he was the center of it, offering information without realizing it. My heart raced. I had protected him for years, and now he was unknowingly walking into a trap, guided by someone he trusted. I tried to warn him subtly, planting hints and questions, but he laughed them off, trusting her over me. Each time he defended her, my fear grew. I was alone in seeing the danger, and the clock was ticking. I had to find a way to act without pushing him into her arms. I pieced together her motives, connecting fragments I had collected. Her interest in him was never genuine. She needed leverage, access, control. The family's secrets, the old enemies, they were all pieces of her puzzle, and he was the key. My anger boiled, sharp and consuming. He trusted her completely, and she intended to betray him. I had to stop it before irreparable damage was done. I tested her subtly, planting questions to watch her reactions. She was careful, almost perfect, but small cracks appeared, a hesitation, a fleeting defensive glance, a miscalculated word. They confirmed my fears. She was not what she seemed, and the stakes were higher than I imagined. Then came the moment I overheard a conversation she thought he would never hear, a plan to exploit him, to use him as leverage against us. The words cut through me like ice. Betrayal was no longer possible, it was happening. My brother, trusting and unknowing, had walked straight into her trap. Fury, terror, heartbreak, they collided inside me. I couldn't confront him yet. If he turned against me in defense of her, I would lose him completely. So I moved quietly, gathering evidence, observing, predicting her next moves. Every word I planted, every subtle action I took, was designed to expose her without alerting her to my awareness. She was clever, but I was relentless. My devotion to him was my weapon and my shield. Despite the fear, I saw cracks forming in her composure. A flicker of hesitation, a glance too long, an expression that didn't match her words. I noted them all, preparing for the moment she could no longer hide her intentions. I had to be faster, sharper, more precise. One misstep could ruin everything. I documented every detail, gestures, messages, interactions, inconsistencies. I created a record that could not be disputed. When the time came to expose her, the truth would be undeniable. My brother would see, finally, what I had seen all along. Even as I prepared, doubt gnawed at me. Could I truly protect him? Could I reveal the truth without destroying him emotionally? Could I stop her before it was too late? The questions haunted me, but hesitation was not an option. Action was necessary. Every second of delay gave her more control, more leverage, more power over him. I had spent my life protecting him from shadows, from threats that moved unseen. Now, the danger had a face he loved, a voice he trusted, a smile he adored. And I had to act. I had to act decisively, strategically, and without mercy. The stakes were too high, the risk too great. I watched, calculated, waited. Her alliances, her plans, her manipulations became clear in my mind. She underestimated me because she believed my loyalty would blind me, but my loyalty gave me clarity, strategy, and precision. I was ready. She was ready to strike, but I was ready to stop her. I knew the confrontation was inevitable. I knew it would hurt, that he might turn against me at first, that trust would be shattered. But I had no choice. Her betrayal was real, her plan unfolding, and my brother's safety demanded everything I could give. I had prepared for years, trained my mind and instincts, honed my vigilance, and now it was time to use it. The moment to act approached, and I steeled myself. I could not falter. I could not fail. She was clever, patient, methodical, but I was relentless, fueled by love, devotion, and the knowledge that the stakes were life and death. One misstep, one hesitation, and he could be lost forever. I would not allow it. I waited, observed, calculated, and when the first real opportunity appeared, I moved with precision. Her cracks widened, her control faltered, and I was ready to expose everything. This was the moment I had prepared for, the moment when vigilance met opportunity, when love demanded action. I had no doubt about what I needed to do. Protecting him meant confronting her, gathering proof, guiding him to the truth, and enduring the heartbreak of watching him face betrayal. It was the only way. The only way to save him. The danger was real. The betrayal was real. And I was ready. I had waited, watched, and prepared for this moment, and now it had arrived. The truth was clear, she was no longer hiding her intentions, and my brother's blind trust made him vulnerable in ways I could no longer ignore. Every plan I had carefully laid, every sleepless night, every piece of evidence I had collected led to this exact point. I began testing her subtly, watching for weaknesses. She was clever, smooth, unshakable on the surface, but tiny cracks appeared, a hesitation, a fleeting glare, a word spoken too quickly. Those cracks were enough. I moved deliberately, guiding situations so that she would reveal herself without realizing I was orchestrating everything. I had to be precise. One mistake, and everything would collapse. The moment came when she slipped entirely. A word, a glance, a gesture she thought meaningless exposed her true intentions. Every calculation, every manipulation she had made was laid bare before me. I saw her plan in full, her alliances, her schemes, her desire to use him as leverage against us. She had underestimated me, assuming my devotion to him would blind me. Instead, it sharpened me. I acted swiftly. Every subtle nudge, every planted hint, forced her to respond in ways she couldn't control. I anticipated every move, every strategy she might use to recover. My brother remained unaware, and I needed it that way. His trust could not be shattered too early, or she might manipulate it against me. My vigilance had to be perfect. I gathered all the evidence I had collected over weeks. Messages, gestures, inconsistencies, all compiled into proof undeniable. I could see her panic now, the confidence she had worn so carefully crumbling. She tried to manipulate, to regain control, but it was too late. I had predicted, planned, and acted with precision. My brother's safety was no longer in jeopardy. When I revealed the truth to him, I watched his expression change from confusion to shock, then to horror. The person he trusted, the one he believed loved him, had been deceiving him all along. At first, I feared his anger might be directed at me for hiding the danger, but instead I saw recognition, understanding of my sacrifices. He finally saw what I had been trying to protect him from, and it broke him in a way I had feared but also expected. Even as the threat was neutralized, the aftermath weighed heavily. My brother looked at me with gratitude, guilt, and sorrow. He realized not only the danger she posed but also the depth of my sacrifices, the nights spent watching, the moments of tension I endured alone. The victory was bittersweet. I had succeeded, but at a cost we both could feel. The innocence of trust, the simplicity of safety, had been forever altered. I felt the familiar ache of exhaustion, the emotional toll of acting decisively. Protecting him required more than courage, it demanded sacrifices he could not yet understand. The betrayal had forced me to act, to choose between love and justice, between family loyalty and protection. Every step had been calculated, every action deliberate, yet the cost remained. I had ensured his safety, but at the expense of comfort, innocence, and peace. Even as she disappeared from our lives, I could feel the lingering shadow of threat, the reminder that vigilance was never ending. I had acted, but the world was not free of danger. My brother had survived, but the lesson was clear: trust could be weaponized, love could be manipulated, and my role as protector was far from over. I understood that my choices, my sacrifices, would always be necessary to keep him safe. The confrontation taught me something fundamental: loyalty and justice are not always aligned. Protecting those we love requires actions they cannot understand, and sometimes those actions carry heartbreak and loss. I had acted with clarity, with precision, and with love, but even victory came with consequences. The shadow of what could have happened lingered in my chest, a quiet reminder of how close we had come to ruin. My brother's gaze, filled with gratitude and sorrow, reminded me why I had endured everything. I had saved him, exposed the betrayal, and ensured our family's safety, but the personal cost was immense. I had been forced to act with cold precision, to manipulate circumstances, to bear the emotional weight alone. Love demanded this, and I had answered. Even in triumph, I felt the pain of the sacrifices I had made, the sleepless nights, the constant tension, the emotional toll of knowing he was vulnerable to deception I alone could see. The relief of survival was tempered by the knowledge that trust had been broken, that innocence had been lost, and that my vigilance must continue. I had won the battle, but the war with hidden threats, with betrayal, with the shadows of our family's past, was never ending. I had acted decisively, and the danger had been neutralized. The enemy had been confronted, her plans unraveled, and my brother was safe. Yet I carried the weight of everything I had endured, every quiet sacrifice, every moment of fear, every decision made in isolation. Love and loyalty demanded it, and I had delivered, but the cost was etched into my heart. I realized finally that protecting him would always come with pain. Sacrifice is not measured in victories alone but in the quiet endurance of emotional scars, the strength to act when the heart trembles, and the willingness to bear consequences alone. I had confronted betrayal, I had ensured safety, and I had acted in the name of love, but even now, I understood that this path would never be easy. The threat was gone, but vigilance remained. My brother was alive, aware now of danger, but I could never allow complacency. I would continue to watch, to guide, to sacrifice, because love demanded nothing less. And I would endure, because I had learned that the price of loyalty, the cost of love, is a burden willingly carried, but one that never fades. The aftermath of exposing her left a silence I could almost hear. My brother looked at me with a mixture of relief, guilt, and something I could not name, an understanding that came too late to undo the danger he had faced. I had saved him, protected him, yet I felt hollow, as though the act of survival had cost more than I could measure. He asked questions, hesitant, tentative, searching for reassurance. I answered with truth, but I filtered it, knowing he could not bear the full weight of what I had uncovered, what I had endured alone. Protecting him had required more than vigilance, it had demanded sacrifice I could not explain, choices that would haunt me quietly. I realized then that love is not gentle, and protection is rarely painless. Even in victory, I felt the cost. The betrayal had shaken us both. My brother's innocence, once a shield against the harsh world, had been fractured. He trusted me, yes, but he also knew now that danger could arrive cloaked in kindness, that love could be weaponized, and that not every truth could be shared safely. I had given him safety, but I could not restore what had been lost, the simplicity of his trust, the certainty of his unguarded heart. I spent nights watching him sleep, guarding him still, even after the danger had passed. My mind replayed every detail of her plan, every slip she had made, every moment I had waited, calculated, acted. The relief of survival was tempered by exhaustion, by the constant knowledge that my sacrifices had left scars no one could see, no one could understand. There were moments when he tried to thank me, to express gratitude, but words could never capture the depth of what I had done, what I had endured. Love, I realized, was measured not in comfort or warmth, but in endurance and quiet sacrifice. Protecting him had required everything I had and more, and even now, I felt the shadow of the cost. I thought about the future. He would live, yes, but he would carry the memory of betrayal, of a world that was not always safe. I would remain the sentinel, watching over him, ready to confront threats before he could see them, ready to act when love demanded it. And I knew, deep down, that this would never end. My role as protector, my sacrifices, would continue as long as he lived. And yet, I also knew the price I had paid. In the act of saving him, I had lost pieces of myself. Sleep, innocence, emotional freedom, these were gone, traded for vigilance and preparedness. My brother was safe, but I bore the weight of that safety alone. I realized that the ultimate cost of love is not only in what you give but in what you endure silently, without recognition, without applause. I could see him now, recovering, smiling cautiously, trying to believe again in the world. I wanted to join him in that hope, to let go of the fear, but I could not. My duty demanded constant awareness, constant calculation. I had sacrificed not only comfort and peace but also the ability to see the world through his trusting eyes. I had paid for his safety with pieces of my own heart. In the quiet, I accepted it. I had chosen this path, and I would continue to walk it. Love had demanded sacrifice, and I had answered. Justice had required action, and I had acted. And though the price had been high, I knew it had been necessary. I had saved him, even if it meant losing parts of myself in the process. As days passed, I watched him rebuild trust in the world, rebuild the belief that love could be safe. I remained close, vigilant, protective, always aware of the unseen dangers that lurked in shadows. I had paid dearly, but I had preserved the life that mattered most. That, I reminded myself, was the essence of love, sacrificial, relentless, and unyielding. And so I stayed, always watching, always ready, carrying the weight of my choices quietly, knowing that love and sacrifice are inseparable, that the price of devotion is eternal vigilance, and that sometimes, protecting those we love means paying a heartbreak no one else can ever understand. Thank you for watching. If you enjoyed this thrilling story of love, betrayal, and sacrifice, make sure to subscribe and turn on notifications. Don't miss more suspenseful revenge tales that keep you on the edge of your seat. Like, comment, and share to support the channel.